The Clerk's Tale, Part 6. Now from Bologna, he of whom I spoke, the Earl arrived, the greater and the less, got wind of it, and all the common folk buzzed with the news a second Marchioness was being brought in, all the loftiness of pomp and splendor. Such a sight to see had never been known in all West Lombardy. The Marquis, who had planned and knew it all, before the Earl had fully reached his place, sent down poor Griselda in her stall, and she with humble heart and happy face came at his bidding, all without a trace of swelling thought, and went upon her knees and greeted him with reverence and at ease. "Griseld," he said, "my will is firmly set. This maiden hither brought to be my bride tomorrow shall be royally as met as possible, with all I can provide that's in my house. My servants, side by side, according to their rank, shall wait upon her as may be best arranged, in joy and honour. I have no woman of sufficient skill to decorate the chambers as I hold. They should be decorated, if you will. I should be glad to see it all controlled by you who know me and my tastes of old. And though your dress is not a thing of beauty, I hope at least that you will do your duty." "Not only, lord, would I be glad," said she, "to do your will. I long and shall endeavour to serve and please you in my own degree, and not to faint in service now or ever, for neither grief or happiness can sever my love from me. My heart can never rest, save in the ceaseless will to love you best." And she began upon the decorations. There were the boards to set, the beds to make. All she could do in many occupations she did, and begged the maids for goodness sake to hurry, and to sweep the dust and shake, while she, most serviceable of them all, went garnishing the chambers and the hall. The Earl arrived, beginning to alight, with the two children early in the day, and all the people ran to see the sight of so much opulence and rich array, and soon among them there were those to say that Walter was no fool, and though obsessed to change his wife, it might be for the best. "For she is lovelier," they all agreed, "and younger than Griselda. Put the case that fruit will fall to them, a fairer breed will issue from such lineage and grace. Her brother had so beautiful a face it caught them with delight. Opinion changed, and now applauded what their lord arranged." O stormy people, frivolous and fickle, void of true judgment, turning like a vane, whom every novelty and rumour tickle! How like the moon you are to wax and wane, clapping your praises, shouting your disdain, false judges dear at a penny as a rule. Who trusts your opinions is a fool. So said the serious people of the city, who watched the throng go gazing up and down, glad merely for the novelty, the pretty new lady that had come to grace the town. But let me leave the pleasure-seeking clown, and turn to my Griselda. In the press of all her labours and her steadfastness, busy in all she worked, disposed and settled, laboured and strove to cater and adorn, nor did she seem at all abashed or nettled, although her clothes were coarse and somewhat torn, but with a face as cheerful as the morn, went to the gate with all her retinue to greet the Marchioness, and then withdrew. She met the guests so cheerfully and greeted them with so much skill according to their rank, that none could find a fault in how she treated them, and all were wondering whom they had to thank, and how could such a pauper, to be frank, know all the rules of honour and degree. They praised her prudence as a rarity. And in the meanwhile ceaselessly she still praised the young bride, and praised her brother too, with so much heart, with such benign goodwill, that no one could have given them better due. And in the end, when all the retinue sat down to meat, Walter began to call Griselda, who was busy in the hall. "Griseld," he said to her, as if in jest, "how do you like the beauty of my wife?" "Indeed, my lord," she said, "I must protest I never saw a lovelier in my life. God give her joy, and may there be no strife between you, and I pray that he may send your fill of happiness to your lives' end. One thing I beg of you, and warn you too, never to goad her, never put on trial this tender girl, as I have known you do, for she is fostered preciously. A vial more delicate, I think, the self-denial adversity might force on her would be harder for her to suffer than for me. When Walter saw this patience in Griselda, her happy face, no malice there at all, he thought of his offence long upheld, to test her, ever constant as a wall, grave, innocent, and ever at his call, the stubborn Marquis could no more repress his pity for such wifely steadfastness. "It is enough," he said. "Griselda mine, have no more fears. Let your heart be sore, your faith and gentleness so as far outshine all other faith, as you were tested more in wealth and want than any wife before. Dear wife, I know your steadfastness by this." He took her up into his arms to kiss. She, lost in wonder, did not seem to grasp or even hear the words he uttered thus, but as a sleeper, breaking from the clasp of an amazement, woke incredulous. "Griselda," said he, "by him that died for us, you are my wife, and I have none but you, nor ever had, as God may judge me true. This is your daughter, whom you so commended as wife for me. The other, on my oath, shall be my heir, as I have long intended. They are the children of your body both. Bologna nourished them and fed their growth in secret. Take them back, and never say your children have been lost or snatched away. Let those that otherwise have talked of me know that I did this, be it bad or good, neither in malice nor in cruelty, but for the trial of your womanhood. What, slay my children? God forbid I should. Rather I kept them privately apart, till I had proved your purpose in my heart." On hearing this, Griselda fell a swoon in piteous joy, but made recovery and called her children to her, and they soon were folded in her arms. How tenderly she kissed them, as the salt tears falling free bathed them and glistened on their faces and hair. How like a mother stood Griselda there! And oh, how pitiful it was to see her fainting and to hear her humble tone. "All thanks to you, my dearest lord," said she, "for you have saved my children, you alone. Were I to die this moment, I have known your love, and have found favor in your sight, and death were nothing, though I died tonight. Oh dear, oh tender one so long away, your sorrowing mother steadfastly had thought that some foul vermin, hound, or beast of prey had eaten you, but God in mercy brought you back to me, and your kind father sought in tender love to keep you safe and sound." She suddenly swooned again and fell to ground. Though she had fainted, sadly, clingingly, she held her children in that first embrace, and it was difficult for skill to free them from her arms, and touching to unlace. Oh, many a tear on many a pitying face ran down among those standing at her side, scarce able in her presence to abide. Walter caressed her, loosed her from her grief, and up she rose, bewildered from her trance. While all the rest, in joy at her relief, made much of her, and cleared her countenance, and Walter showed her such loving diligence. It was a dainty thing to see the air of new-found happiness between the pair. The ladies round her, when the moment came, led her toward her chamber. There the old poor rags she wore, though never worn in shame, they stripped and set on her a gown of gold, a coronet of jewels manifold. They crowned her with, and led her into hall, there to receive the homage of them all. Thus to a piteous day a blissful close, and every man and woman as they might gave themselves up to revelry. There rose the stairs, and all the welkin shone with light. Greater the glad solemnities that night, greater the joy in feasting and defray, in treasure, than upon their wedding day. For many a year in high prosperity these two lived on in concord to the close. Their daughter too they married worthily, and richly to a lord best among those in Italy. They also found repose for old Janicola, whom Walter kept safe at his court till his soul from body crept. Their son succeeded to the inheritance. After his father's day, in peace and rest, he married happily, but did not chance to put his wife to such a searching test. This world of ours, it has to be confessed, is not so sturdy as it was of old. Hear how my author ends the tale he told. The story does not mean it would be good for wives to ape Griselda's humility. It would be unendurable they should, but everybody in his own degree should be as perfect in his constancy as was Griselda. That is why Petrarch chose to tell her story in his noble prose. For since a woman showed such patience to a mortal man, how much the more we ought to take in patience all that God may do. Reason he has to test what he has wrought, yet never tempts the souls that he has bought above what they are able, and St. James tells us he tests us daily and reclaims. He will permit to exercise our virtue the sharper scourges of adversity, to lash us often, not that they may hurt you, nor yet to test the will, for certainly no one can know our frailty more than he, who knew them ere our birth, and all is best. Then let our virtues learn to suffer test. But one word more, my lords, before I go. It isn't very easy nowadays to find Griseldas round the town, you know, and if you try imposing these essays, what gold they have is mixed with such a lays of brass, that though the coin looks right perhaps, when you begin to bend the thing it snaps. So, from affection for the wife of Bath, whose life and all her sect may God maintain in high authority upon their path, and pity else, I sing you this refrain with lusty heart to gladden you again, dropping the note of earnest emphasis. So listen to my song. It goes like this.